The man who almost shot 59 now has a 5-shot lead over the world's number one, and a storm is coming to destroy everything. Let me ask you something right now. What if I told you that this weekend at TPC Craig Ranch, the leaderboard doesn't even matter? What if I told you that the real story of the CJ Cup Byron Nelson has absolutely nothing to do with who's swinging the best golf club? Because right now, as we speak, there's a force building over McKinney, Texas that could completely erase everything we've seen this week. Thunderstorms, lightning, 90% chance of rain, and a 55% chance of full-blown thunderstorms rolling in at exactly the worst possible moment. And here's what makes this terrifying. We have a man sitting 5 shots clear of the field. A man who fired one of the most insane rounds you'll ever see on the PGA Tour this season. A man who is this close to ending a 3-year drought without a win. And now, Mother Nature is about to show up and flip the entire script. Welcome back to Rick Analysis PGA. I'm Rick, and if you're a real golf fan, someone who lives and breathes the PGA Tour every single week, then buckle up right now, because this video is going to cover everything happening at the Byron Nelson this weekend. The leaderboard drama, the weather chaos, the names lurking in the shadows, and the one moment that could define this entire tournament. And trust me, stay with me until the very end of this video, because there is one storyline developing right now that I haven't seen anyone else talking about, and it could completely change who lifts that trophy on Sunday. Let's get into it. TPC Craig Ranch, McKinney, Texas. If you've been following the PGA Tour for any amount of time, you already know what this place is. This is one of the most scoring-friendly venues on the entire PGA Tour schedule. Guys come here and go low. We're talking 8 under, 10 under, 12 under in a single round. Birdies feel like routine. Eagles happen. The fairways run fast. The greens stay receptive. And when conditions are right, this tournament turns into a full-blown birdie fest. That's the normal version of the Byron Nelson. But here's the thing about this week. This week is not normal, because right now, we are staring at a leaderboard that reads like a highlight reel and a weather forecast that reads like a disaster movie. And those two things together, that's what makes this weekend must-watch television. Let me paint you the full picture. After 36 holes, the story of this tournament has already been written in one man's name, and that man is Siwoo Kim. I'll get to him in a minute, because he deserves his own full breakdown. But before we talk about who's leading, I need to talk about the chaos that is threatening to consume this entire final weekend. Because the weather situation at McKinney, Texas has gone from concerning to genuinely alarming. Let me be very clear about something right now. On the PGA Tour, there are delays, and then there are delays. A little rain, players deal with it. Maybe they put on a rain jacket, switch to a softer ball, adjust their approach, and keep moving. That's part of professional golf. Nobody panics over drizzle. But what's coming to McKinney? This is not drizzle. AccuWeather projecting roughly an 80-degree day with mostly cloudy skies. That sounds fine on the surface. But here's where it gets serious. There's a 90% chance of rain and approximately a 55% chance of full thunderstorms rolling through that area during the afternoon. 90%. Let that number sink in for a second. And the timing of these storms? Absolutely brutal for the PGA Tour. The models are showing these systems developing rapidly during the afternoon hours, which is exactly when the tournament reaches its most intense, pressure-packed moments. Exactly when the lead is being challenged. Exactly when players are standing over the most important putts of their entire week. And here is what the casual golf fan sometimes forgets. The PGA Tour does not mess around when it comes to lightning. The second, and I mean the second, that lightning is detected within the designated radius around the golf course, everything stops. No warnings, no waiting to see if it moves. Air horns go off. Players put down their clubs. Everything halts immediately. PGA Tour officials are already in constant communication with meteorologists. They've already adjusted Saturday's format, converting the round into split tee threesomes to try and protect the schedule. Players are going off both the first and 10th tees simultaneously to accelerate pace of play. But even with all that preparation, you cannot outrun a Texas thunderstorm. And here's the part that doesn't get discussed enough. What does a weather delay actually do to a player who is in contention? Think about this. You're Si-Woo Kim. You've been the best player in the field for 2 days straight. You're locked in. Your swing feels like it's on rails. You're carrying momentum, confidence, energy. And then suddenly, air horns. Play suspended. You're walking off the course and sitting inside the clubhouse for 45 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe longer. You try to stay loose. You try to keep the focus. But the rhythm is gone. The adrenaline fades. And when you walk back onto that course, you are essentially starting over emotionally. Meanwhile, the guys chasing you, the Scottie Schefflers and the Jordan Spieths of the world, they've been through this before. They know how to flip that switch back on. They've won in difficult conditions. They've closed out tournaments after delays. That experience gap under pressure, that could be the difference between a champion and a heartbreak story this Sunday. And there's something else that happens when heavy rain actually hits the golf course itself. This tournament normally rewards aggression, but saturated fairways change everything. Shots don't run out the same way. Approach distances get longer. Club selection becomes a guessing game because you don't know how much the ball is going to stop. Wind gusts become unpredictable as storm fronts push through. And suddenly, this scoring paradise turns into something completely different. Heavy rain at TPC Craig Ranch doesn't just change the scores. It changes the entire game plan for every single player on that leaderboard. Stay with me, because I want to come back to the weather later in this video. Because there's a very specific scenario developing on Sunday that I think could create one of the most chaotic finishes we've seen all year on tour. And I'll walk you through exactly what I think happens. But first, let's talk about the man who made this tournament his own. Si-Woo Kim. Si-Woo Kim, 30 years old, South Korea, and right now, the most dangerous man in professional golf. Let me tell you about what happened on Friday at TPC Craig Ranch, because if you didn't watch it live, you need to understand just how special that round was. Si-Woo Kim went out and fired an 11 under par 60, 6-0, in a competitive PGA Tour event. He played almost the entire round without a bogey. Hole after hole, he was finding fairways, attacking flags, draining putts, and doing it all with his calm, controlled energy that was honestly remarkable to watch. The confidence was growing visibly with every single hole. And here's the moment that would define the legend of that round, the 18th hole. Si-Woo Kim stood on that final green, needing one more birdie to shoot 59, to join the most exclusive club in professional golf, to become only the 11th player in PGA Tour history to break 60 in an official event. He missed. The putt didn't drop. And just like that, history slipped through his fingers by inches. Now, some players would let that moment crush them. They'd walk off that 18th green dwelling on what could have been, carrying the weight of the miss into the rest of the tournament. Not Si-Woo Kim. He shot 60. He's at 18 under par. And he leads Scottie Scheffler, the number 1 ranked player in the entire world, by 5 shots. 5 shots. Let me put that in perspective for you real quick. In golf, a 5-shot lead is comfortable. It's breathing room. It's a cushion that most players can manage when everything is going right. But this is not a normal situation. Because the 5 guys within range of him, this might be the most dangerous chasing pack we've seen at any tournament this season. Scottie Scheffler, Wyndham Clark, Sungjae, Kensei Hoshino, and lurking further back, Jordan Spieth. That is not a leaderboard you take lightly, not even with 5 shots in hand. Now, let's talk about Si-Woo Kim's season, because I think this storyline has more layers than people are giving it credit for. He has 4 top 5 finishes already this year. 4. That tells you this is not a fluke. He's been playing consistent, high-quality golf for months. He's been knocking on the door, getting close, showing up in the mix. But the win hasn't come. The last time Si-Woo Kim won on the PGA Tour was the Sony Open in Hawaii, back in 2023. That's over 3 years ago. Think about what that does to a player mentally. 3 years of near misses. 3 years of top 5s that feel almost like victories in the moment, but leave this quiet, nagging emptiness when Sunday is over and your name isn't at the top of the final leaderboard. And now here he is, 5 shots clear, 2 rounds to go, with the kind of form that could carry him all the way to that Sunday trophy ceremony. But, and this is the big but, can he close? That's the question hanging over everything right now. And honestly, I don't think people are being fair to him when they frame it that way. Because Si-Woo Kim has won on this tour before. He knows what it takes. He's been in pressure situations. He's made clutch putts when it mattered. The difference this time is the names behind him. Because if Scottie Scheffler gets within 2 or 3 shots of you by Sunday afternoon, the entire psychological dynamic of that tournament changes. Even if you never look at a leaderboard, and most players try not to, you feel it. You feel the buzz from the crowd when Scheffler makes a birdie. You hear the roars. You know what's happening behind you. And that's when we find out what Si-Woo Kim is truly made of. Let's talk about Scottie Scheffler. Because every single time his name appears on a leaderboard in contention, the entire conversation around that tournament changes. He is the world number one. He is a defending champion at this event. He is playing in front of his home crowd in Texas. And he is 5 shots back with 2 rounds to play. 5 shots is not dead. Not for Scottie Scheffler. Not anywhere. Not ever. And here's what makes this even more interesting. Scheffler himself recently opened up about something that I think is genuinely fascinating. He admitted publicly that he's exhausted. Not physically broken down. Not injured. But mentally drained from the nonstop grind of being the best player in the world week after week after week. He even made a joke about it. Said he isn't tired of making top 25s. He's just tired. Period. And honestly, I respect that transparency enormously. The expectation that comes with being number one is something we as golf fans sometimes don't fully appreciate. Every tournament, the entire golf world is watching him. Every miscut, every quiet weekend finish gets analyzed and discussed like it's some kind of crisis. Every win is expected. Every loss becomes breaking news. That's an enormous psychological weight to carry every single week for months on end. But here's what makes Scheffler dangerous right now. Rest can be the great equalizer. If he came into this week carrying fatigue, and the first 2 rounds have helped him settle in and find his rhythm again, a rested, focused Scottie Scheffler charging on moving day is about as scary as it gets in professional golf. He's a defending champion here. He won this tournament before. He knows TPC Craig Ranch. He knows how it plays. He knows where the scoring opportunities are. He knows where the danger zones are. That course knowledge matters enormously when you're making in-tournament decisions under pressure. And the crowd, the Texas crowd, they are going to be absolutely electric if Scheffler starts making moves on Saturday and Sunday. The energy that home support brings, particularly at this event where the Dallas-Fort Worth fan base treats him like royalty, that's a genuine competitive advantage. 5 shots is a gap. But in golf, 5 shots can disappear in about 4 holes when everything is clicking. Si-Woo Kim knows that. Everybody on that leaderboard knows that. The question is whether Scheffler has enough left in the tank to make that charge. And I'll tell you right now, I would not bet against him. All right, let's work through the rest of this leaderboard because there are some names here that deserve your full attention going into the weekend. Jordan Spieth, 12 under par, still in the mix. Now look, Spieth has not been at his peak for a while now. We all know that. The putting has been a struggle. The overall form has been inconsistent. But here's what you never forget about Jordan Spieth. The man is an absolute magician when he's in Texas with the home crowd screaming his name. This is his backyard. These are his people. And if the weather creates chaos on Sunday, delays, interruptions, shifting momentum, there are few players on this planet who know how to feed off crowd energy and create something almost supernatural the way Jordan Spieth does. If he gets within 3 shots by Sunday, I'm watching him very, very carefully. Then you've got Wyndham Clark. Long off the tee, aggressive style play, comfortable at this type of scoring venue. If conditions soften from the rain, and approach shots are holding greens more easily, that actually plays into his strengths. Clark is the kind of player who can go from quiet to dangerous in about half a round. Sungjae Im is right there as well. Remarkably consistent. Never seems to get rattled. One of those players who you almost forget is right there in the mix, until suddenly he's inside the top 2 on Sunday. Kensei Hoshino is a name some of you might not know as well, but he belongs on this leaderboard. Solid ball striker, comfortable at this type of course. Don't overlook him. And then there's Brooks Koepka. Brooks came into this week with reports circulating that he's testing a new putter setup again. And look, when Koepka's putter is working, everything changes about how he competes. The confidence flows into every other part of his game. His decision-making gets more aggressive. His body language shifts. And Brooks Koepka, with full confidence in his putter, is one of the most clutch players who has ever played professional golf. He hasn't found that momentum yet this season. But every week is a new chance. And if those putting changes start clicking this weekend at Craig Ranch, I wouldn't sleep on him at all. Taylor Moore led after round 1 before sliding back. Keith Mitchell, Tom Hoge, Tony Finau, Eric Cole, Luke Clanton. There are weapons spread all through this leaderboard. And with weather potentially reshuffling the deck on Sunday, anyone inside 8 shots of the lead is very much alive. All right, I promised you earlier that I'd come back to the weather, and specifically walk you through the scenario I think is most likely to play out on Sunday. And this is the part of the video that I really want you to pay attention to. Here's what I think happens. Saturday's split tee format gets the round in, maybe a few brief delays, but the organizers get through it. The leaderboard tightens. Scheffler makes some moves. Maybe Spieth does too. Si Woo Kim holds his ground, but the lead shrinks. Maybe it goes from 5 shots to 2 or 3 heading into Sunday. And then Sunday arrives. Play starts under that heavy cloud cover. Conditions feel different from the early part of the week. Slower, heavier, more difficult to control distances. Players who rely on feel and touch start adjusting in real time. Players who are more mechanical and data-driven adapt faster. Then, mid-round, the storms roll in. Air horns. Play suspended. And here's where it gets fascinating. Because at the moment play stops, let's say Si Woo Kim is standing on the 12th fairway. Mid-swing thoughts. Fully locked in. And Scheffler just made eagle on the 8th. They come off the course. They sit. They wait. The storm moves through. When they come back, everything is reset emotionally. The player who manages that mental reset fastest has a massive advantage. In that scenario, I actually think Scheffler's experience becomes a decisive factor. He's been through weather delays in major championship situations. He knows how to flip the switch back on. He knows how to stay sharp in the clubhouse and come out firing the second play resumes. But here's the wild card that nobody is talking about. What if Si Woo Kim uses that delay differently? What if that 45 minutes of forced reset actually helps him? What if sitting down, breathing, refocusing, what if that actually takes the pressure off him and brings him back out even sharper? Because sometimes, and I've seen this happen, sometimes a rain delay saves a player who is starting to feel the moment getting a little too big. It gives them a chance to reset and come back out with a clear head. That's a fascinating psychological chess match inside the weather chaos. And honestly, it could go either way. There's also the possibility, small but real, that conditions become severe enough that the tournament can't be completed in full on Sunday. If that happens, and they need to use Monday to finish, the entire dynamic of the leaderboard changes again. Travel plans get disrupted. Mental preparation gets complicated. And suddenly, the players with the strongest mental recovery ability, regardless of where they are on the leaderboard, have an advantage. This is not your average Sunday at a regular PGA Tour stop. This Sunday could become one of the most dramatic, unpredictable finales we've seen all year. All right, you've sat through the full breakdown. You've heard the weather analysis, the leaderboard breakdown, the psychological breakdown of every major player in contention. So now, here's where I land. My prediction for the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. I think Si Woo Kim wins this tournament, but I don't think it's clean. I don't think it's comfortable. I think this is a grind all the way to the final holes. I think Scheffler makes a run and gets the crowd buzzing. I think there are weather delays that create genuine anxiety for everybody in contention. But I think Si Woo Kim has been building to this moment all season long. 4 top 5s, elite ball striking, and around 60 that tells you his game is genuinely at another level right now. That kind of form doesn't evaporate overnight. And I think when the pressure peaks on Sunday, when the storms come through and the crowd gets loud and the leaderboard gets tight, I think Si Woo Kim finds something inside himself and makes one defining putt that seals the tournament. His first PGA Tour win since the 2023 Sony Open, and one of the most dramatic victories of this entire season. But, and this is the part one need you to remember, if the weather completely disrupts the flow of play and Scheffler gets within 2 shots on Sunday, all bets are off. Because Scottie Scheffler in that situation, at his home event, with that crowd, he is the most dangerous player alive. So there you have it, the full breakdown, the full picture. Everything you need to understand why this weekend at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson is bigger than most people realize going into it. Si Woo Kim chasing history, Scottie Scheffler hunting him down, Jordan Spieth plotting something dangerous, Brooks Koepka with a new putter, and a Texas thunderstorm that could turn the whole thing upside down at any moment. This is exactly why we watch golf. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Si Woo Kim holds on and ends at 3-year drought? Or does Scheffler find another gear and defend his title at TPC Craig Ranch? Drop your pick in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if this kind of deep dive coverage is what you come here for, real analysis, real breakdowns, no fluff, then make sure you hit that subscribe button on Rick Analysis PGA right now. We are building something real here for real golf fans. Every single week, every tournament, every storyline, we cover it all. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you back here the second this tournament has a winner. This is Rick Analysis PGA. Let's go.